I'm here for the content.
If you was here the last episode, I talked about covering the spotlight on Maryland, and the spotlight on Maryland is pretty much Fox 45 and the Baltimore Sun connecting together to make an investigative team to investigate the corruption and mostly where our tax dollars are going and things like that. And I said in the last episode I'm going to be covering everything they cover, because if you've been following me for a little minute, you know I did a video on the mayor, I did a video on the Inner Harbor, and you know it's only so much a nigga can see. You know what I'm saying? I can only just pull up his Twitter, you know what I'm saying? But luckily these two entities, these powerful entities going together and really helping our city, telling us what the hell they doing now for our tax dollars. So on this week's Spotlight of Maryland, we have two stories. The first one is Baltimore taxpayers funded all expenses paid trip for 100 local activists. So I'm kind of going to, instead of just telling you all the facts and keep it in the 100, I'm just going to give you a nice solid storyline. So back in 2016, if you're my age, I'm 24. I wasn't able to vote back in 2016. I was 16 years old. So in 2016, I guess it was like one of them things in the ballots where it was like, don't you know how it'd be like $83 million to the youth fund for the city to improve the kids and stuff like that. So basically in 2016, the people voted on a youth fund that was basically specifically for, in 2016, the fund, which operated as a nonprofit outside the city government, is guaranteed millions. Yeah, basically it's basically a fund voted by the city from our taxpayer dollars to go to the youth of Baltimore City specifically. That's literally what the fund is for. The youth. It's called a youth fund, literally. And we voted for that in 2016, and we finally got it in 2016. And you want to know how that company has been? You want to know how that non-fund has been doing in 2024? You want me to tell you what they've been up to in 2024? They flew out 100 local activists. You can put up the picture, baby. Put up the picture of local activists. Yes, these are the 100 local activists. You don't see no kids and no sight. And you probably thinking, you can take it off now. And you're probably thinking like, oh, they was probably going out to help. It says in the description, if you look on TikTok and you look up the name, it says that they was going out for different foundations, for different programs.
This past February, BCYF held its opening plenary in Alabama for the Learning Lab, a 6-month citywide learning series for youth-centered organizations. Traveling to Alabama with community advocates was a dynamic experience as we sought to explore the legacy and history of Black people in this country and bring back what we learned to Baltimore City. We were confronted with difficult but necessary depictions of the violence endured by our people. These visuals encouraged us to reevaluate our understanding of the narratives of perseverance, rebellion, and victory.
But in actuality, when you read the paper, when you read what they put out, they said they flew out these 100 activists, basically training them, taking them to museums and taking them to different spa places and teaching them storytelling to basically bring it back to Baltimore for the kids of Baltimore type shit. It's instead of making a fun and sending these kids to the same museums and giving them the same meditation methods. Like they was out there doing yoga. They spent like $20,000 just on yoga alone. And it's not like just off of t-shirt sales. These are off our Baltimore tax dollars, you and me. Every time we get paid and that little $200, $300 that's taken out of our check, this is the type of things that's getting towards to today. And yeah, so basically it says basically it's not even a thing that everybody does. They made their own series, they made their own 6-month series, and they're going to different places to teach these 100 local activists on basically how to help us or how to tell us better stories or something, and they're gonna bring it back to Baltimore. So basically the event started this year in February 2024. They flew to Alabama. They stayed in a 4-star Renaissance hotel at the spa and everything. It says if you want to ask specifically what it says what they doing it for, it don't say they doing it for the kids. It says specifically they put a citywide learning series to explore racial justice, liberatory practice in youth-centered organizations. So I mean, I don't know. It kind of sound iffy, but what happened? We made a fund to go towards the youth, to go towards the kids, to keep them out of the streets, to keep them from getting killed. In 2024, they using that same money, that's millions of dollars from our tax cut, and they putting it into going to Alabama. So that was the one of the stories. That's the first one. We have another story on Spotlight Maryland. Spotlight on Maryland. It's a few stories. They've been going brazen. They dropping them like hotcakes. They dropped like 2 more stories today just alone. So that's the first story they dropped. The second story they dropped that I have for you guys is the prime subject. Excuse me. The prime subject of Spotlight on Maryland is specifically to track where our tax dollars are going, track where a lot of the power is going, and track where the corruption is going. So that's when I read these stories off to you, it's not just for like, oh, this gonna click, this gonna go viral. I'm telling you where your tax dollars are going. I know my audience is in Baltimore. Like, nobody outside of Baltimore is gonna listen to me talk, cause like, listen to how I talk. I be saying I be saying dummy. Like, nobody wanna listen to that. But I'm gonna go back to the story. Baltimore City Schools sex ed consultant says 3-year-olds can be transgender.
Gender exists on a spectrum. I would have no idea how many total there are, but we know it's beyond 2. And so I think this resistance to understanding gender exists on a spectrum is a real cause for concern for many people. And I understand that it's changed very quickly, but there is a lot of science showing us that gender exists on a spectrum and is no longer just male or female.
All right. So, how did this start? This is by a lady named Nora Jerplin. Nora Jerplin. Pull up the picture of the sex ed lady. This is what she looked like. This lady specifically here, she is the director of sexual education and training for Advocates for Youth. And the city specifically sent her $20,000, not just any city, Baltimore City we're talking about here. Baltimore City sent her $20,000 of federal funds to her directly. And you probably would ask, like, if she works for this company and they want her to, and she's a sex ed consultant, when you just pay the company and they'll bring her to, they didn't pay Advocates for Youth. But Baltimore City, instead of sending, like, don't you know how you send your money to Chick-fil-A and somebody specifically cook your food for Chick-fil-A and bring your Chick-fil-A food out. In this circumstances, Baltimore City, instead of paying Chick-fil-A to send out a cook for them, they basically paid the cook directly. So they paid, they send $20,000 of the taxpayer money directly to this lady, Nora Jerplin, to basically do things. Before they even sent her that $20,000, this lady was already in our curriculum. She was already in our education curriculum. You know what I'm saying? She co-wrote Advocates for Youth: Rights, Respect, Responsibility. So it's basically this curriculum is in 1st grade to 6th grade. And so in Baltimore City, 1st grade to 6th grade, they're teaching our kids about specifically gender identity and transgenderism. What the hell? I didn't even know that's a word. They teaching our kids about gender identity and transgenderism from 1st grade to 6th grade. And this lady specifically, Nora Jerplin, co-wrote the curriculum that they teaching all our Baltimore kids citywide, this curriculum. And this is the same lady that they paid $20,000 specifically. They didn't pay it to her company that she was working for. They didn't pay it to her. They didn't pay it to her charity. They gave her specifically. They cash apped her $20,000 to come tell our Baltimore City kids that a 3-year-old can be transgender. I don't know what else I can say. You want to know the actual quote she said? She said, kids that are transgender at ages of 3, 4, 5 are able to say they feel like their body is wrong. She said, they feel like something is different with them. how they identify on the inside does not match what they see on the outside. That's why you'll see some kids start to socially transition in kindergarten, first and second grade. What the fuck? Baby. I don't want to get baby into this. But she's basically saying that it's okay for a 3-year-old to be transgender. It's possible for a 3-year-old to be transgender. And this is the same lady that already has her curriculum in the first to 6th grade. She's already embedded into our system. And that should say which includes planning for the in high school requirements. They about to put this shit in high school. Oh my goodness. I'm not trying to make this a hate train. I'm not trying to be a political or I'm Republican or I'm left or right side. They teaching our kids about fucking transgenderism. 1st to 6th grade. Citywide, period. And it's not even like they trying to keep it. They not even trying to keep it under wraps. They sending her directly the money. This not just like I said, the whole Chick-fil-A situation. You know what I'm saying? You wouldn't walk into Chick-fil-A and give the cook specifically, the person that's cooking your food in the back, the $20, $30. That's basically what they doing in this situation. So that is the second story of Spotlight on Maryland. This is where our tax dollars are going. It's going to send local activists to Alabama, expenses paid, spa, food, drinks, all that, and it's also being used to hire sex ed consultants to tell us that our 3-year-olds can be transgender. So I don't know what you want to take from that. I don't know who you want to vote for after that, but this is happening right now as we speak. That curriculum has already been implemented in our school system for God knows how long.